The story begins by showing a woman holding her baby boy in the pouring rain. The woman, who looked exhausted, then tried to find shelter and hide from the group of people who were chasing her. In her desperation, the woman then entrusted her baby boy to the mistress of the house and then just left. But the woman never returned to pick up her baby boy, until 18 years had passed. And the baby boy, called Lushu, is now grown up. That night, when Lushu visited the fireworks festival with his sister Lu Xiaoyu, he overheard some people talking about people with superpowers. Lushu didn't necessarily believe the news that would go viral, because according to him there was no one with superpowers in this world. However, when he and Xiaoyu watched a fire magic show performed by a man on stage, Lushu felt a strange radiation energy emanating from the necklace his mother gave him. He then assumed that the man was not performing magic tricks, but rather had the superpower to control fire. Out of curiosity, Lushu then slipped back the stage with his sister. And how surprised they were when they saw a group of people dressed in black ambush the man controlling the fire and then shot the man with anesthetic weapons. However, they immediately found Lushu and Xiaoyu. So, Lushu found a reason that they would not be suspected. Even though he and his sister were released, in the end the group leader still apparently suspected Lushu. Likewise, Lushu was suspicious that they were not the police as they told him. Lushu and Xiaoyu then met a young man named Yue who asked about what happened backstage. But Lushu did not respond and immediately left him. Although Lushu considers Xiaoyu as his younger sister, in reality he has no blood relations. Lushu and Xiaoyu, who orphans, met at an orphanage managed by a woman who met his mother 18 years ago. When he was a child, Lushu was often disturbed by other children, and Xiaoyu was the only child who cared about him. Therefore, Lushu really loves Xiaoyu and thinks of him as his younger sister. Even after Lushu left an orphanage to live independently, Xiaoyu also joined with him. When he was about to cross the road to buy noodles, Lushu, who was dazed, did not realize that there was a vehicle that drove towards him. He could not avoid collisions and falling ground, covered in blood. However, the accident made the necklace given by his mother to react, and miraculously Lushu did not feel pain at all and then rose as if nothing happened. He thought he might have superpower because he survived the deadly accident. Covered in blood, Lushu rushed home and realized that something had happened to him. He then asked Xiaoyu to cook noodles while cleaning himself in the room. Lushu tried to find out what had happened to him, and was very surprised when he realized his left hand was emitting a golden light. When Lushu touched it, a golden screen magically appeared in front of him, showing the points he had accumulated when accidentally scaring people on his way home. Lushu immediately realized that he had superpowers, where the more often he makes others show negative emotions, the more points he will get. After that, a kind of lucky spin game appeared on the screen, where he then tried his luck with the points he had. Even though he had failed to get a reward several times and his points were running low, Lushu had finally managed to get a very rare reward, where he felt a powerful force enter his body. Not long after, Lushu, who witnessed the news of the fire at a location near his home, took the initiative to go to the roof and see what really happened. Because he had a strange feeling when he climbed the roof, Lushu saw several men walking along the roofs of people's houses. As they approached, Lushu realized that they were the same people who had crippled the firebending man backstage. Lushu then went into hiding. But one of them noticed his presence. So Lushu was finally caught. Lushu then tricked them by saying that he would pick up the dried radish on the roof of his house. Since Lushu was carrying a basket filled with radishes, they didn't even suspect him. However, after they left and Lushu returned home, suddenly there was the sound of something falling from the roof. When Lushu and Xiaoyu checked outside, it turned out that the one who fell earlier was a firebending man who was probably trying to escape. Knowing that the man was only pretending to be unconscious, Lushu purposely annoyed him so that he would gain a lot of points from the man's negative emotions. Annoyed that Lushu kept playing with him, the man then used a weapon to burn Lushu's arm. But strangely, the fire power didn't work on Lushu at all, as if he could neutralize it. The man looked surprised that his power didn't work on Lushu. Because his efforts were in vain, the man ended up leaving just like that. After that, Lushu returned to his room, and his physical strength increased drastically after eating the magic pill on the golden screen that appeared before him. Because his life was very poor, Lushu tried to make ends meet and pay his school fees by selling food. Even though he had to sell before going to school, Lu Shu never felt ashamed of his friends who often passed by where he was selling. When one of the students in his school was about to mock him for being so poor, Lu Shu purposely annoyed the young man so that he could earn a lot of points. While at school, Lu Shu is shocked by an incident that shocks the school, where a student named Li Qi attacks a teacher after his powers awaken. In such a precarious situation, Lu Shu instead thought of a way to elicit negative emotions from the many people there. With his ingenuity, he was finally able to stop Li Qi and gain a lot of points from the negative emotions of the people gathered there. One of his classmates, a girl named Ling Ling, later praised Lu Shu's ingenuity. Although in the end Lu Shu got a lot of points from Ling Ling's negative emotions. After that, Lu Shu and his classmates had to be willing to take their blood samples to see if their powers had also awakened. When he returned home, Lu Shu tried to cure Xiaoyu with the healing pills he got from Lucky Spin. Lu Shu finally got a healing pill after doing gacha a few times and then gave it to Xiaoyu. After drinking it, Xiaoyu finally recovered quickly and returned to health. The next day, at school, the students are shocked by the results of a blood sample test, in which Lu Shu becomes one of those who have the power. Unexpectedly, it turns out that many other students also have strength. The school then formed a special class for them and appointed a man named Zifei as class supervisor. Lu Shu looked surprised when he saw Zifei, because that man was the one who hunted the firebending man. After that, Lu Shu's class has a transfer student named Zhang Shui, who turns out to have awakened his powers and is about to enter a special class. Although he is very beautiful and his skin is very smooth, Zhang Shui is actually a man. At night, Lu Shu and students whose strengths have risen, gather in a place where they will do further tests, to determine their level of strength classified according to the alphabet. After doing the test, Lu Shu turned out to be at the F level, or the lowest level. This then makes it the target of bullying. But he didn't mind, because he managed to make many people feel annoyed with him, which would be more profitable for him. Lu Shu finally showed his super strength to his sister, and began to do a gacha and get items. But the item was absorbed into Xiaoyu's body, making her superpower rise. Lu Shu then thought that the power was destined for Xiaoyu. After that, Lu Shu met his neighbor, an old man who was practicing swordsmanship. The old man offered to teach Lu Shu, but he immediately refused his offer and left the old man just like that. As time went on, Lu Shu went about his usual activities, selling, going to school, and collecting points from the negative emotions of the people around him. One day, Lu Shu got a magic sword after doing gacha. However, he had absolutely no idea how to use the sword. Thanks to the information from Shuyi, Lu Shu finally discovered that Zifei was a member of the World Network Organization. The organization above them was a heavenly network with less than 10 members, which meant they were extremely powerful people. That night, Lu Shu noticed the presence of a member of the Divine Network Organization visiting the old man he left behind yesterday. The old man named Li turned out to be one of the highly respected higher-ups of the Heavenly Network. After knowing this, Lu Shu finally accepted Teacher Li's offer and started practicing swordsmanship with the old man. After Lu Shu mastered several sophisticated sword techniques, Teacher Li then advised him to use his strength to protect and save people. But Lu Shu apparently only cares about his sister and wants to always protect him, because Xiaoyu is the most valuable person to him. One day, one of Teacher Li's best students, a man named Shizujin, came to see him. He invited Teacher Li to rejoin the Heavenly Network and work together to explore the ruins. However, Teacher Li refused, because he did not want to be confused with the Heavenly Network affairs after deciding to retire. That night, Lu Shu and Xiaoyu did a test to determine their level of strength, where Xiaoyu's strength turned out to be very strong, and Lu Shu's true power was not measurable. However, Lu Shu decided to hide his strength because he did not want to cause problems. After that, Lu Shu and Xiaoyu began to test their respective strengths, and looked amazed by their superpower. Not long after, Lu Shu and Xiaoyu then rushed to the site of the huge explosion, where the explosion was caused by a fight between the Earth Network and a group that has a fairly high and dangerous level of super strength. Lu Shu and Xiaoyu seemed to be watching the fight from a distance. After learning a bit about their strength, Lu Shu confidently launched an attack to test his strength. It turned out that he could easily defeat all of them, including Zifei and the Earth Network, who attacked him for considering him to be part of the group. Due to the dark aura that enveloped him, Zifei and the others were unable to recognize Lu Shu. So he has more freedom in his actions.